during the thing.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of PFT Talk. This is episode 9. So apologies, we did say, but we were away for a while and we've had other stuff on. So this is the first episode in probably 2 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks, I think. Yeah.
So there hasn't been any huge news that we've missed out on, but there's certainly a lot to catch up on. So on today's episode, we've got news from Sony, from Apple, from Samsung, from Xbox, and much more. So this should be a jam-packed show, but to get it started, first up we have some news from E3 and in specific Xbox. So there were two kind of notable things for me. So the first was the Xbox Elite controller. Now basically in the past you got a controller with your Xbox that was a fairly basic controller. Okay. You got the fairly basic controller with the Xbox, and then people like Scuff made third-party controllers, and these had extra paddles and more customizable buttons, things like that are really supposed to improve your experience while playing the games. Now, basically what Xbox have done is moved it first party, so they now make their own Elite controller, which is extremely customizable. So I believe there's 3 different choices for thumbsticks, so you can have concave thumbsticks, and then there are 2 different heights. You can swap out to a D-pad, which is a kind of circular pan that gives you more directions that you can control that in. That's about it for the front of the controller. On the back there are, I believe, a possible 9 triggers on the back, just behind where you rest your hands on the back of the device, which you can customize. I mean, you can make, I believe, unlimited profiles, so for different games you can tether these buttons to do different things. Personally, as someone who doesn't really play games much, I wouldn't, this doesn't interest me at all, and to be honest, yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, even as a person who plays, well, I probably play a lot more than you, and I still don't really see kind of the point in one of these. I mean, sure enough, if you kind of play, I don't know, if you spend majority of your time on your games console, then probably one of these is going to come in handy, but I still don't really see why you would need extra triggers and extra points, well, not points, extra buttons for different games. I mean, fair enough, in some games, you know, switching through your inventory is going to be a pain, you know, stuff such as Minecraft, but if you're going to be playing Minecraft, then surely you're not going to be playing on your Xbox. It kind of makes sense. I don't know, you were saying something else about the controllers.
Yeah, well, I guess for some like professional gamers and stuff this may be necessary, but I think it really depends on the type of game you're playing. So, for example, for FIFA or something, I don't really see this being very useful, because there simply aren't enough tasks for you to do with those 6 extra buttons on the back. But for, well, I don't really play those kind of games, but for things like World of Warcraft, where you have different spells and tactical moves and things like that, it may be handy to, it's similar to macro keys on a keyboard, but I think the main thing about this is that they're interchangeable, so if you don't want to use these, you can fully take them off. The controller is actually slightly different as well in what it's made of. It's a slightly nicer, grippier surface. But for me, the main downside is the fact that I believe it costs $150 or £100 in the UK, which for a controller, just a single controller for me is way too much. I think you have to be using it a lot to be able to warrant spending that much on it.
Well, frankly, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's, what, over a quarter the price of an actual Xbox One. Sorry. Yeah, as I was saying, it's like a quarter of the price of an Xbox One, so really, you're going to be needing, you're going to have to be playing something like 100 hours a week, but I mean, okay, that's a made-up stat, but you're going to be racking up a lot of hours on your console. So I guess, if you're going to be doing that, then fair game, but for somebody like, for a normal person that doesn't actually play that much, £100 for a controller is really insanity.
Yeah.
Anyway, I believe what else, Quinn? What else was there at E3?
Well, again from Microsoft, they kind of announced finally that you backward compatibility for the Xbox One. So this is a basic feature that a lot of people were annoyed about when it was initially released, that it didn't have this, and they've kind of finally caught up with what people wanted and have updated it to work. So basically all this means is that you will be able to use your Xbox 360 games on your Xbox One, which for a lot of people is a big deal, because you have to bear in mind consoles are usually out for a fair number of years, and over that time people gather up a large collection of games, and people don't necessarily want to sell those games and transfer them over to the Xbox One versions, and a lot of games simply don't have an Xbox One version. So this means that a lot of people will be able to play their games collections for their Xbox 360, and it opens up a much larger collection of games for this console, and a much larger selection of older games that simply weren't compatible beforehand, which I believe will make a lot of people happy and possibly even bring in some more customers to the Xbox One.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the video that they released, like an interview with one of the designers earlier today, and the way they explained it was they essentially built a virtual Xbox 360 on the Xbox One just in software. So it's really exciting to finally see older games kind of make their way over to the brand new flagship platform from Microsoft. But what really impressed me about this was the way in which they described the method of moving your games from the 360 to the Xbox One. Essentially what they said was, you take your disc from your Xbox 360, you put it into your Xbox One, and essentially the drive should be able to read it, and your Xbox will realize that that's your game, you own it, and then what Microsoft will do is they will allow you to download just an online version of the game. So let's say you wanted to move something like, I don't know, Modern Warfare 2 from your 360, so you just take the disc, put it into your Xbox One, and then it just lets you download internet version of the game. So you just download it and you play it as you normally would have. Now this, I think, is going to really take off, because there's been a lot of calls for classic games such as COD 4, numerous Halos, and all games like that to be remastered for the Xbox One. And I think this will kind of speed up the process by actually importing the games straight onto the platform, rather than developers needing to take time to remaster the games for the new graphics.
Yeah.
And for the new engines available.
I think something you have to bear in mind is that for games consoles, a lot of the user base are children, and for a lot of kind of big release games, when they come out, they can cost £40 or £50, and people simply aren't willing to pay basically double that to get the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One version. So for example, I know you bought GTA 5 on the 360, and then you bought it again for the Xbox One, so you had to pay double the price. A lot of people won't be willing to do that.
PC. I also bought it for the PC. It was £100 in total. But
yeah.
Beside that,
so a lot of people won't be willing to pay.
Yeah, I'm slowly dying here. Carry on.
A lot of people won't be willing to pay £100+ for the game twice, just to be able to play it on their Xbox One. So I think that backwards compatibility, I mean, sure, the games won't be fully optimised for the Xbox One, they probably won't run quite as well, but just the fact that you can use your old games.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be fully using all the specs of the Xbox One, so I don't think we can expect 60 FPS performance, but I think it should still offer the same performance that the 360 does, so 1080p, 30 FPS, kind of that stuff. So, all the stuff that we've kind of come to expect from Xbox, we can quietly expect from the Xbox One.
Yeah. Now, kind of moving on from that, some more recent news. Actually, about 3 minutes ago, Apple have just released iOS 8.4 to the public. So, you can see here on my phone the update it says checking for update. The update, if you can see there, iOS 8.4 has just been released, and I will check as well, but I'm assuming Watch OS 2. No, in fact, Watch OS 2 isn't out yet, but iOS 8.4 and Beats 1 have just been made live to the public about 5 minutes ago. Now, this obviously isn't a huge thing because we already knew what is featured in this operating system, but we can finally get not the developer preview, the full working final version hands-on, and we'll certainly let you know after I've updated my phone. I'll probably let you know on the website how I feel about this. So obviously you have the new productivity stuff, so you have the page to the left of the home page that works in a similar way to Google Now and gives you some recent information. You also of course get Beats 1, which has had a lot of hype. Personally, I don't listen to the radio. I'll certainly try out Apple Music, so again I'll let you know my thoughts on that because I'm currently subscribed to Spotify. I'm a paid subscriber, so I'm going to let you know basically which one I decide to use after the free trial. I think basically the main things are going to be the cost because they're streaming sites. I don't see how they can do much different. Spotify offers all the music I really listen to, and I'm sure Apple will as well, so I think it comes down to the cost for me. But yeah, it's available to the public now, so if you want that, just head over to your settings and update your phone and you'll get all those new features. So moving on from Apple, but staying in the smartphone game, we have some news from OnePlus. Now, the OnePlus One was an extremely popular, or extremely talked about, I should say, Android smartphone. It's one of the best out there. It has impressive specs, works very well, but sadly ran on an invite system, so most of the public simply weren't able to buy one. Now, OnePlus are kind of moving on. They've matured and they're going for the OnePlus 2 now, and there's an article here that says that new photos have been leaked showing some new features of the phone. So there are some clear differences between this and the original model. The corners of the phone are a lot more curved, the bezels are a lot thinner, the rear camera appears to be a lot bigger, so there might be a new sensor or something in that camera, and there's a new circle just below the screen which could be a fingerprint scanner. So we've seen this on things like the HTC One M9 Plus, of course the iPhones, and we've seen it on the Galaxies, and fingerprint scanners are beginning to become a bit of a norm in the smartphone game. It offers a much more quick and secure way to get into your smartphone, and if OnePlus feature this, it could be very interesting. Now, I think one of the most interesting things about this phone is that they're moving away from Cyanogen and going all out Oxygen OS, which is their kind of version of Android. It should be fairly heavily modded in a similar way to Cyanogen. And paired with their specs, this is certainly a phone to look out for. Now, from what I've heard, this may also have the invite system, so you will be able to get your hands on it. You'll just have to do a lot of work to manage to find your invite. But yeah, this could certainly give Samsung a run for their money if they can get the stock.
I think there's one other thing that we need to consider if we're going to talk the OnePlus 2 up kind of as a contender to your HTC One M9 and your Samsung Galaxy S6, then we need to consider the fact that not many people actually know what the OnePlus is as a device.
Yeah.
Granted, in terms of hardware specs, it's looking like a tremendous device. Certainly one that, on paper, would be capable of besting the HTC M9 and the Galaxy S6 in kind of a spec shootout, dogfight, whatever you might want to call it. However, if it comes to sales, first things first, the invite system, I think, is trying to make the OnePlus more of an exclusive device. I don't think that's really working because I don't think people are wanting to buy it as much as the company thinks that they are. That's why they have the invite system.
I think it's more of a cover-up for the fact that they don't actually have enough units to ship.
That could be another, reason behind it. But if they really want to kind of take off in sales, they're going to need to spend a fair bit of money into advertising it. Aside from that, it's going to be interesting to see Oxygen OS for the first time and see how OnePlus has modified Android Lollipop, and just to see what they think is kind of the ideal OS. Aside from that, the photos do look fairly promising, and I really like the fact that the bezels on the device are really small, and that they've decided to kind of maximize the space of the smartphone and give you as big a screen as possible. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say?
You were saying something.
Wait, what was the first point?
No, I essentially I was saying that's a good phone, but it needs to be kind of advertised.
Oh yeah. A fact about the OnePlus One.
Yeah, I'm dying again. Go ahead.
The complete marketing budget for the OnePlus One was, I believe, something ridiculous like $300. I can guarantee you, every product on my desk, the company will have put probably more than 10 times that on the marketing. I think for the size of company OnePlus are, $300 is a tiny amount to put on marketing. It kind of shows they put all their focus into the device, into the design and the engineering and stuff like that, and they put absolutely no effort into actually telling people about it. It's simply spread through word of mouth. There's been zero advertising, nothing like that. So
I think they're kind of hoping to get at the same kind of market where Google Nexus was targeted at.
Yeah.
But what they're forgetting is Google's massive. Google can put adverts on their own websites for free, whereas OnePlus don't have the same popularity as Google has. So I think if they don't really advertise it, then I think they might be shooting themselves in the foot quite critically.
yeah.
And if anything, I'd really like to actually have a play about with the OnePlus 2 just to see how good it actually is and whether it can in fact hold up against the competition.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's not the kind of phone that you're going to walk into the Carphone warehouse and see displayed on a table. It's the kind of phone that you're going to have to do your research and find somewhere that you can actually get your hands on it. And to be honest, considering how similar it is to other smartphones, it doesn't stand out from the crowd that much, and I don't really know if it's worth the effort to actually go out and buy one of these.
I mean, the thing is, it was like I've never seen any kind of any advertisement from OnePlus saying this is how you can get one. All I've heard was you need an invite, but it's never been explained how to get an invite.
Yeah.
It hasn't I've never seen a website or anything to sign up for like a beta program or anything like that to actually get your hands on a device. So I really want to see it out in public, but whether that will happen, that's a whole different story.
If you think about it, like iPhone, Samsung, LG, Motorola, HTC, even Windows, I've seen adverts for all of them. Even on YouTube, like you see them paying people to use their phone to do certain things. You see the adverts on TVs, on buses, things like that. I've never seen a OnePlus advert anywhere. So I think
that would be quite a good experiment, just to go out in public and actually ask people, do you know what OnePlus is? And I bet you, I think only about 1% of the people probably would know.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, as I said, I don't think they actually have the units to ship to people, but if you concentrate on that, I think they could end up being a very successful company, but the way that they're currently going, they're not going to sell very much. So, I think moving on from that, Amazon, their special 1 hour delivery system is finally moving to the UK. Not the whole of the UK though, just London for now. If you don't know what this is, it's kind of in the name. Basically, you order things, I think it has to be certain products, so I think obviously Amazon's basic range. I think a lot of food and home kind of things like toilet paper, washing liquids.
Yeah, it's going to be like your groceries and all your usual home utilities that you'd be using on a daily basis.
So basically when you look on Amazon, a lot of products have the Prime tick, meaning that they're meaning those products are eligible for Prime delivery. And there's a new service they've launched called Prime Now, which is very similar, apart from it's even quicker than Prime. So Prime guarantees next day delivery. I believe if you order before, I'm not actually sure.
I think it's before 6 p.m.
Yeah, it used to be 1 p.m. I think they moved it to slightly later. So this, basically, if you order, of course, at a reasonable time of day, you will get your product within 1 hour, which seems insane to me, the fact that they can process the order and get the shipment to you. Obviously, it's going to be really hard for them to get this all across the country. I think it's going to be a long time before we see it anywhere near Scotland. But I think it's going to be. I don't know if Amazon are even making a profit on this, because I'm sure the amount they're having to pay workers to get them to be able to do this, it's something we've never seen from any company before, being able to deliver on such a large scale so quickly. But it's definitely nice to see that they're expanding it to different places. The service only launched 6 months ago. They're already they're in the UK and in quite a lot of places over America, so that's definitely very nice to see.
On that, there's one thing. Yes, if actually I don't actually know where I'm going with this. Oh no, wait, I do. This kind of service has actually been launched before. If you think about it, as the Tesco's and Sainsbury's and probably Morrison's as well, they offer delivery services. So you go online, you do your grocery shopping, and then you have it delivered to your home. Now, the reason why that works so well is because you have almost a great big warehouse in every kind of town, and they're called supermarkets. Like, you go into your Asda store, it functions as a shop, but also functions as a base for online shopping. So if somebody goes and buys some, I don't know, grapes and tomatoes, they can be delivered fairly quickly to them, because the actual place where it's stored is very near. So I think Amazon could make this work if they ended up kind of dealing with local suppliers. I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon like announced a partnership with somebody like Asda or Tesco's.
Yeah.
You know. Although one other thing that would probably encroach on Tesco's own business, so it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out.
So the next thing we have is a leaked video from a new upcoming Samsung phone. Now, I don't think we're going to actually see this phone anytime soon. It's called the Galaxy A8, and it's set to be one of the thinnest phones we've ever seen. Certainly the thinnest phone from Samsung. Even thinner than the iPhone 6. I believe it's supposed to come in at 5.94 millimeters, which is crazy to think about considering how thick phones used to be. It's a 5.7-inch 1080p Android smartphone with a Snapdragon 615 processor, 16 megapixel camera, 5 megapixel front-facing camera, 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of expandable storage, and a 3,500 mAh battery. So this isn't going to quite match up to the Galaxy S6 and its competitors specs-wise. But I think, considering just the design of this phone, it does look quite similar to the S6, though it is noticeably thinner. It's still a very capable phone. I think, again, with a lot of things, the pricing is the main thing. I believe this is set to be a bit more of a budget-oriented phone. It will be running Android Lollipop, and from what we can see, it should actually be fairly close to being released to the public, though that's not what we've been hearing. In the video, it is running full Android, it's fully working, and it looks like a finished product. It's a video that seems to have been leaked from some kind of factory in China. Hopefully this isn't a Chinese exclusive. We might see this in the US very soon, but it's certainly a very interesting phone.
I think the one problem I have with it is the fact that it's so thin. Like, I think manufacturers now are pushing phone design to its extremity. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've all seen the kind of bend test of the iPhone 6 Plus, and we know how that ended. So I think there needs to be a point where we kind of need to balance having a a good size of a phone. I don't know if that makes sense, but kind of try not to go over a certain size of screen. So kind of stick to like your 5-inch, maybe let's say 5 inches about the ceiling of a reasonably sized phone. And then what you also need to balance is the battery size and the thinness of the phone. Because if you push one, the other two suffer. Like for example, this phone, 5.7 inches, that's massive. You need like a gorilla hand to kind of hold it in one hand. Also, using it with one hand is probably going to be difficult. I mean, it's nice to have a phone that's, you know, almost credit card thin, but if you bend too hard, it might fold in your pocket. And B, battery life. Whilst it has a 3000 milliamp hour battery, I'm pretty sure if they kind of maybe made the phone a teeny weeny bit larger, say 8mm, I think you could see a much improved battery life.
I mean, to me, the iPhone 6, when I hold it in my hand, it feels ridiculously thin, and it comes in at 6.9mm. So, this is 5.9, so it's a whole millimetre thinner, and that's getting scarily thin.
I think this is almost coming to the same stage where you had German car manufacturers a couple of years ago, where they're kind of all pushing how much speed they can push out of every car. And at one point it actually became dangerous because you had four-door saloons doing 200 miles an hour. Whilst I don't think that this is going to become as dangerous as that race did, I still think that it's becoming slightly pointless. It's like, I don't know, I can't remember whether it was you that said that megapixels don't really matter in a camera.
Yeah.
It's like, after a certain point, you just don't notice it. And I think it's the same here. I mean, I have an iPhone 4S, and I think that's not exactly the thinnest phone out there, but I think if you go past that kind of size, then really you stop noticing it, and it kind of just becomes a spec gimmick that, you know, manufacturers will try to get you to buy their phone, whereas it won't actually find any use in real life. It'll just be something that's there, possibly annoying you because you're going to be scared of putting your phone in your pocket in case you bend it.
I mean, it actually annoys me because while I like that my iPhone is thin, I would much prefer for it to be, for example, the thickness of the iPhone 5 and to have a better battery. It seems that they just use that as a selling point. When you pick it up in the shop, you're impressed immediately by the thickness of the device, but in the long term, I would much rather have that extra battery, that extra gig of RAM, than have a couple of millimeters shaved off.
Yeah, I think the physicalities of the phone don't really matter as much as the actual performance, and I think that's what manufacturers have kind of forgotten over the past few years. Like, we've seen smartphones get bigger, and we've seen them get, you know, bigger in terms of screen size, and we've seen them get thinner, but I think they've kind of lost touch with what consumers really want, and I don't think they're going to notice it whatsoever because we're going to keep on buying their devices, you know. It doesn't matter how crap the iPhone's going to be, we're still going to go and buy it because it's the iPhone. So I think it'd be nice to see a manufacturer kind of step back and actually look at what we want more than, you know, sheer physicalities of the phone.
Yeah. That's something that kind of fits home with Project Ara and the modular smartphone because
it's going to be
make a decision.
Yeah, like people like you and me are going to be able to influence what size our phone is. You know, I'm not saying that everybody's going to need to have the same phone as me because my personal choice might not be ideal to everyone's taste and probably wouldn't be anyway. But I think it's going to be really interesting to finally be able to choose, you know, certain features over physicalities. You know, it'd be nice to have a battery that'll last me more than 24 hours rather than having a phone that's like the size of a tablet, you know.
Yeah. So moving on to our final topic is something that really interests me
and that is the Sony RX100 Mark IV. Now, the Sony RX100 series has been extremely impressive ever since the first generation. That and Canon's kind of GX7 range have always been right up there at the top of the point-and-shoot games, and they've been offering pretty much DSLR quality. The lenses on these, the Sony ones, both stock Zeiss lenses, and they're truly amazing for the kind of size. Of course, they've not been the cheapest, but they offer brilliant quality for things like vlogging, just taking them away, for example, on holiday where you don't have much space. Anything like that, where you just want a small camera that you can put in your pocket, take out, get the picture quickly. These are extremely good, and Sony have made a huge advance on the game with the Sony RX100 Mark IV. Now, specs-wise, basically, similar to what we were saying in the last one, they've really been pushing the pixels here. So we've got a 20.1 megapixel sensor, which isn't too ridiculous, but for a point-and-shoot, it's a good number again. My kind of rule is anything above 16 is good enough. I think the main thing that people are really interested about here is they finally added 4K video. Now, this is the first time we've seen 4K video in a point-and-shoot camera like this, and I think it's really going to change the game for YouTube, because a lot of people who make vlogs use the Sony RX100 Mark III, and I'm sure a lot of them will want to upgrade to the Mark IV. And it not only will encourage them to start making 4K content, it will encourage people like Canon, Olympus, Panasonic to upgrade their point-and-shoot camera games to get 4K in those. And I think in general it's just going to encourage the whole video game to move forward. We'll start seeing a lot more 4K content on YouTube, which will mean you'll start seeing a lot more reasonably priced 4K screens. Generally, everything should begin to progress, but the quality on this camera should be absolutely amazing. It does come in at a recommended retail price of $1,000, which isn't cheap. But
I've just had a look on, well, not Amazon, but the Google kind of compare thingy, and I've found one for $849 from Jessex. So,
yeah,
there you go.
I mean, I think the price is reasonable for what it is. The question is just, do you actually want to pay that much for a point-and-shoot camera? Again, I think this is focused at people who do vlogs and stuff like that on YouTube. Even higher production YouTube videos, you definitely get away with using this. It has a maximum aperture of f1.8, which is very impressive. Maximum ISO of 25,000, which you can do a lot with. It has an OLED display and an electric viewfinder. It has an equivalent of a 24-70 lens, so you maybe don't get the most zoom, but that's another advantage of that 20 megapixel sensor, is that you crop in big time to get much closer to your subject. But yeah, I think the main focus of this is definitely going to be video, and with that 4K capability, you're going to get some stunning shots with this camera, paired with that Zeiss lens. It's going to be a really popular camera, I would predict. Yeah.
I believe that's it for today.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's anything more. I think it shoots at 50 FPS, so you could get some of yeah. You might be able to get some decent slow-mo on it, but yeah. That is the last topic. So we're going to have to bring the show to an end here. We're free. Well, I know I'm free for the next few weeks, which should be next Sunday back to regular schedule, providing everything goes to plan. So thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, and you're watching YouTube, please give it a like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, if you're watching YouTube, head over to Twitch. Link should be in the description, and give us a follow over there so you can catch the next stream live as it happens. So that is it from us. Thank you very much for watching. See you.